Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica podcast partner AFRI. AFRI is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Today we have a new story. We have a new storyteller. I have the pleasure to welcome you, Vivian, to Urbanistica podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here and live, not through a computer. So
exactly.
It's amazing.
We talked about this, I don't know, for 3 years, 2 years.
I know. I was supposed to be the first. No.
How are you doing, Vivian?
I'm very good. I'm very happy. I cannot believe I'm in Helsingborg. I was also not planning, but I've been twice now, and it's such a wonderful place, full of details in the public space.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. I'm happy to see you here, actually.
Yeah.
I thought we're gonna meet, but maybe like in Netherlands or somewhere else, but not in Helsingborg. So when you told me that you're coming here, I was like, yes.
No, and I am so pleasantly surprised about everything I've seen, and It's also nice to know, I don't know, your place where you grew up, so it's amazing.
Yeah. So you were here for the 2 days of placemaking. How do you find the program? Do you like it?
Well,
memories?
No, I think it's so nice that we focused it on, yesterday specifically on play and childhood, and to get to know these memories of all of us.
Yeah.
It's very nice because it shows our connection to the space as people, and that's our main focus as well, right? What inspires us. It's not the design or anything like that, but how to build strong relationships in our cities, and every activity that we did made us build a strong relationship among each other, and again, this feeling of a family that we only get when we are in these placemaking events, I think so. It was
true.
Really nice.
What is the best thing with Helsingborg city? Something that you really like?
About Helsingborg?
Yeah.
I love that circle in the harbor.
Now you should explain to our listeners.
Well.
Because yesterday I was asking you, okay, where are you going? You'd be like, I'm going to the circle. So what circle are you talking about?
To the magic circle. Well, no, Helsingborg is amazing and it has so many details, but I love to work with play, and play not in the sense of games necessarily, but the playful experiences that you can have in the public space or anywhere that surprise you, even if they are 5 seconds. So when I first came to Helsingborg, and that was last month actually, we got to this circle in the middle of the harbor, like next to the sea, which is so beautiful to see also because there are all the boats coming from the other side and everything. But there is just a simple circle on the floor that shows north, south, west, east. And then we were that time like 40 people maybe. And someone told us like, hey, stand in the middle of the circle and say something. And then that person would say anything like hello or whatever. And they made this wow face like, oh my God, I cannot believe it.
What?
But nobody else know what that person was experiencing. So we were in this long 40 people line to go try what is happening when you get to the circle. And I don't know if I want to say what happens
when you
get to the circle, because I want people to come to Helsingborg, look for the circle, stand in the middle and get that wow moment. But it's basically just an experience that you feel different with yourself, you hear yourself different, you are so surprised about something that it's so simple, right? But I think that any place that it's kind of secret, that it's kind of a playful moment in the cities. It's amazing
That's amazing
to experience. And I know it's very simple, but that's probably my favorite place in Helsingborg. But of course,
I will never
things.
I will never imagine, or because nobody told me that this is their favorite place or coolest thing they ever experienced, like in Helsingborg. So when you told me yesterday, I was start to laugh. I'd be like, "Are you serious?" Interesting. So Vivian, I follow you on social media, on LinkedIn. I follow your projects. You're doing an amazing job. So I would love to know more about you. How would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what are you passionate about?
Well, I always introduce myself as an Ecuadorian, I realize. So I am from Ecuador, but based in the Netherlands. And I think that shows my connection to my roots, or what I want to show in everything that I do. And I think it comes from this sense of being Latin American, that it's a bit complex but quite nice at the same time. So I think we say, well, we're open, we're about a celebration, we are about social, and that's also what we do through Huasipichanga, which is the company that I run right now. So we are an urban consultancy. And the meaning of Huasipichanga as a word, it actually comes from the indigenous communities in Ecuador, that they build their houses together. So if we are part of a neighborhood or a community, I would never, just build my house for my family, but I will call you and all the neighbors to do it together, and then I'll go help you do it. And they always say, one man cannot build a house, but 10 men can build 10 houses. And then the day that they finish the construction and they put the roof and they make a big celebration, that it's the Huasipichanga. So I think that's what we also want to show through our work, that we work with co-creation, with community, and that these are things worth celebrating. Like, we're building more than a space. We're building this sense of community, of pride that brings us together. So yeah, I like to introduce myself in that way first, and how these community experiences or very cultural experiences are something that we want to bring to everything we do around the world. And I guess apart from that, it's, the typical professional thing that, of course, I love saying I'm a placemaker, but I was trained as a lawyer, then in urban planning, urban management. Now I'm also doing a PhD on child-friendly cities, if that's the most formal way to introduce yourself professionally. I don't know.
Well.
But it's, those are just tags, I think.
No, there are so many big stories behind every tag. I would love that we go back in time and you tell us in which city you grew up, how was your childhood, and so on. We explore more you as a person. Who is the person behind the tags?
Yeah, well, so I grew up in Cuenca, which is a city in the Andes. So we are surrounded by huge mountains. It's very high in the altitude, like 2,800 meters or something like this. It's a colonial city, so a very nice historical center. We are World Cultural Heritage. We have a huge natural park that it's a national protected natural park near our home that has around 300 lakes and a lot of biodiversity that is very much from that place. And we're very famous in water management because we use all the water from that park. We have 4 rivers in our city. So I would say we're very much connected to nature, but not too aware of what this connection is, or not very explicit about it. It's just something that it's there and you don't realize until you go out and you're like, okay, the rest of the world is not as nice as this city. I just want to say with this that we were very lucky in that city. It's super nice. So my childhood was very, very simple, I would say. I was very lucky. I grew up with my parents and brothers and sisters that are 10, 14 years older than me. So they were always taking care of me and I was the baby. I had a lot of friends and it was, very happy childhood, I have to say.
That's nice. That's nice. And how was then that you start to study, because you didn't study urban planning, right?
No, I studied
Is that
law.
something else?
Well, I always thought I was going to be a lawyer. Everybody will tell me like, yeah, you are all about justice, because I was that kid that when somebody, got bullied or if the teacher were mean to any of us, I will stand up and defend it. And, So everybody already saw me as the lawyer.
Yes.
And that was the only career path that I thought for myself as well. I was like, no, I'm definitely going to study law. So I studied hard. I got into the school. I was one of
Was it in home or you traveled abroad?
It was at home. It was in Cuenca as well. So I entered to law school. I was a very good student. So then one of my professors said like, yeah, you can come to work with us. So I started working
that's good.
Second year.
Wow.
But then I started working and I'm like, oh, this is bullshit.
Is it 5 years of educate program?
Yeah, 5 years.
Why it's bullshit? What happened with the justice?
Exactly. That's the thing. So, yeah, exactly. I was so excited about bringing justice.
Yeah, like a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly. But and in theory, it's super interesting, to study law as well. But in practice, first of all, it's not always a happy place because people only come with problems, and I'm more of a happy person.
Yeah, like a conflict.
It's a conflict. And second, that it's very much individual interests. They come with a conflict that they want you to solve and they want you to use the law in the way that it will benefit that individual person.
Yeah.
And I thought that, no, I want to bring justice collectively. How can everybody have a sense of justice? How can we use justice to avoid these conflicts at the very end? I didn't want it to be a lawyer that just starts working when everything already is a problem, right? But how to avoid these problems. So I said, no, I'm leaving law. I really don't like this.
Wow. What did your family say? Like, you're crazy?
No, my mom was like, yeah, do whatever you want. It's fine. But what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I've always wanted to be a lawyer.
But it's interesting, Vivian, because I mean, you study so much and you get into this program, and it's not easy just like to say, no, I don't like this. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the social pressure, the pressure also that you study so much, and now you're just quitting.
Exactly.
So it's really brave of you,
I mean, yeah, but the thing is, my mom was like, you can do whatever you want, but you need to know what you want to do. And I, on the other side, I thought like, well, it's okay. I mean, you normally want to know where you want to be, but it's also good to know where you don't want to be, right?
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Exactly. But at the end, I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I finished law. Huh? I studied all the 5 years. Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And I work in the law.
You worked also?
For 7 years, 8 years. Yeah. So this was the irony
you should
of
stop me. I was like, you're so brave. You want to quit.
Exactly. I was not brave.
Then you didn't quit.
Yeah, but it was not fear. It was just, I have no idea what else to do. So in the meantime, I'll keep doing it.
Okay. In case it's like, how to say, a safe.
It was my hobby. I have to say, I had a lot of help from my friends, because sometimes I was like, I'm not going to class, I don't care. And they'll hand in the homework for me. So I always say I didn't do it alone.
It's like me. It's like me in Italy. I was like, I didn't attend so many classes, but sometimes I was like helping, and sometimes I was like,
helped.
It's a collectively. That's how we graduate.
Exactly. No, and for us, we have the same class. I mean, the same classmates in every class for the 5 years.
Wow.
So you become really close. It's not like, oh, I take one class with 100 people.
Same people continue.
Yeah, no, it's the same people. So we are super close till today.
Yeah.
And my dad sometimes asks me like, oh, I have this law question. Can you help me?
Oh, really? Wow.
And I'm like, Dad, I have no idea. I'm not practicing law anymore.
I hate law.
Yeah, like, why did you study law then? And I'm like, to have a lot of friends that are lawyers, and then now I can ask your question to them. So it was worth it. If you ever need a lawyer in Ecuador,
exactly.
you can call me.
I have friends, not friends. Me, but
yeah, no. So it's funny, but I actually finished.
I understand. Yeah, wow. No, it's like it's big, like, because I know it's not easy to get into this program and to graduate.
Yeah,
You made it.
I made it with a bunch of help, but I made it.
And then you start to practice 7 years. So you like working with.
Yeah. So the thing is, well, I started to work in the second year, and then I kept going on this. Then I was very active in university politics. So in Ecuador, this is kind of a big thing in a way. Like you get 6,000 people, 15,000 people from the university supporting you. You get, I mean, if you get selected as the president of your university in a way. But the whole people at the university is active for social causes. So when I got to do that, I started also exploring what is it that we can do together, right? So we did a lot of programs for children that were in vulnerable conditions. So for instance, that couldn't go to, I don't know, extracurricular classes or something like that. And they were in their house in the afternoon, a 4-year-old taking care of a 2-year-old because the mom is a single mom that has to go work. And we lived like, I don't know, like 3 blocks away, from the campus. So I was like, well, let's open the campus for these children to come here. And we're so many students, many of us lacing around. Let's take care of the children.
Okay.
So we took, we made a big program where you could basically adopt these children.
Really?
And
like an official program with rules and everything?
Yeah, exactly. So we opened the campus gym and sports facilities for the children to come every afternoon to do their homework there, and then you could sign up and then go and help them for a few hours.
That's so sweet.
And this is still going on till today in the university. So that's something that we are always very proud of as a team. But of course, we also use that space to do a lot of cultural events that were public, that were free.
Yeah.
And we pushed a few programs for the city from this, I would say, almost privilege of being a university student, right? Like we are very privileged to be able to study, to be able to, have time to question what's happening in the society.
Exactly.
So when I was in this role, I really used my time to not go to classes. Other people were not. But to explore these, and I would say from a very transdisciplinary perspective, because I had to work with every career, and they had different ways that they wanted to achieve for their personal careers or for their classmates, of course, in what they were studying, but at the same time to put it in practice collectively. So I think we did a lot of progress in that, and that was very nice. Yeah.
But like, I know, like, we're gonna talk more about like the child-friendly city and so on. But the interest for children and children's perspective, this passion, when did it start? Like how?
Well, so after we graduated from university and I didn't know what to do, my friends that are architects, they call me and they say, well, we're going to Central America to backpack for 2 months and you're welcome to come. And I'm like, yeah, this is the time because, I finished university, I'm lost. Yeah, let's go. It doesn't matter. And they're like, yeah, but we are going to a social architectural workshop for 10 to 15 days.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, but I'm not an architect, They're like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter. It's social. So you're social. You can talk to people. So I was like, all right, it's not a problem. I'll go. Huh?
Yeah.
So I went. And when I arrived there, like, don't tell anybody that you're not an architect. I'm like, come on. So like, yeah, we took a spot away from someone
Ah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that you can come. I'm like,
Talking about justice.
talking about justice. I'm like, this cannot be true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I reached there.
Yeah.
And the day, this was in Nicaragua. And the day we reached, there was a big earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
Super big. A lot of places went down. A lot of people lost their homes, their businesses, a lot of public spaces. Even the main cathedral was completely turned down. So it was a shock.
Yeah.
But we decided to continue with the plan. So we were in a city that was not that destroyed, but still had some trouble, I would say.
Yeah.
And we decided to, reactivate public spaces. And we had really cool mentors that made us look at it in a different way. Or maybe I was looking at it completely different because I was the only not architect there. But we reactivated the public spaces. We put certain design elements that were super simple and just to attract people. But these places were kind of abandoned for a long time and people had not noticed them.
Yeah.
So although we put very artistic pieces, if you want to put it like that, that didn't have a specific utilitarian purpose, people were attracted to these places. They came there and then they started to talk about how they're going to rebuild after the earthquake.
Yeah.
They started to sell things there because now there was people there. And then I remember this lady that was selling drinks and she told me, oh, you've brought justice. Like literally, she told me, you've brought justice now because now we can really, economically be prosper in this place. And for me, that was the eye-opener. I thought like, oh, wow. I mean, if you can really build places where people can get together, when people can, be progressing in the way they want to be, whether it is as a business or just a place to be with their children or whatever, it could be a place to talk and decide how we're going to rebuild the community after a crisis. That is the way to make justice, as she said, right?
True.
So then I said to all my friends, like, when we go back to Ecuador, we're going to do this in the public space. We're going to reactivate public spaces. And that's how I went a little bit into the placemaking thing, although I didn't know it had a name, I have to say.
Yeah.
And because...
So which year was this?
2014.
Okay.
And so because we had this political power, if you want to put it like that, from the university, and we had these strong leaders from the university that we were all graduated, we got together and we said, okay, now let's do the programs that we were doing from the university, but in the public
here,
space.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because when we were at the university, we could say, oh, we are the representatives.
Yeah,
of
you
the
have
university.
you belong to some institute.
Exactly. But now we were nobody. Huh? So so we decided to just put a name. That's when we put the Huasipichanga.
Wasipichanga.
And we were 16, 20 people.
Wow, so many.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And we decided, okay, let's go and activate public spaces.
But was it like an association or it's an organization, right?
It was a group of friends, honestly, at the beginning. It was like...
No, I mean, when you started, you didn't start it as a business. Like it was more...
No, it was a Well, first, it was really a group of friends that we wanted to do volunteering work, but with a very specific approach of the space.
Yeah.
Like we need to reactivate public space, and that's what's going to, bring good things to the people.
Yeah.
Which was a different approach that probably many people in the city have of doing charity or, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it started. And so to answer the question on the children, when we started approaching the public spaces, the first people that came to us to ask what's happening were the children. And of course, one reason is because they have the time.
Yeah.
Second, because they're curious. And third, because, they just don't judge. They just can ask, well, what is happening?
Yeah, let's explore.
Just explore, exactly. So they wanted also to play with us if they saw us painting or building something. And that actually forced us to simplify our message, because having architects and lawyers and everything working on this, even if it was such an informal project, we had these very political statements of what did we wanted to do and how are we going to convince the people and so on.
Yeah, like what is your mission?
Exactly. But nobody was asking us, huh? So only the children. So I was like, okay, we're not gonna use these words.
Did you did you do this? Like you got a permission to work, or what? When you say want activate, like what does it mean?
So one of the things we did was we just went to it was a rural area actually. We just talked to the people and we asked them, like, if you could have a new public space, what would that be? And we didn't go with any resources, permissions, anything. And they asked us to do a market. They didn't have a market at that time. And so we were analyzing the space, and our proposal was to then go to the provincial government and ask them for the money to build a market with the community.
Yeah.
But as I said, when we got there, then the children started following us. And we realized, well, why are they following us? Like, you don't have anything else to do. Go to play or something, huh? And then we realized they had no space to play, like, and they had nothing to do. And the biggest problem of the community, or what these people in the town say, is like, because children and youth don't have anything to do, they leave the community, and we are, just losing our town. And we have a lot of places where people can do tourism. We have a lot of places for agriculture, but we don't have the people.
Yeah.
And then we, of course, notice, like, of course, the children don't know this. The children don't have anything to do here. So let's do something for the children. And we did a playground, and we explored with them the different touristic spots of the place. So everything that we built on the playground was connected to that touristic spot, so that they knew all the value of their place and how did they wanted to show that value later. How did they wanted to work to attract tourism to that place?
How was the method? Like, if you can explain to me and to the listeners, like, you have the idea, but how was that? You work with kids, or you went together to these destinations? So
we found that next to the school, they used to have a playground, but it got destroyed, and the school was also in a very bad condition. And at the end, well, they simply didn't had anything. So we were kind of worried, because we knew we were going to build, and we were just going to build, inspire on these spots, and then ask the children, like, what do they like? How do they want to play? But if you ask them, how do you want to play? They're going to tell you, well, I want to swing, right?
Yeah.
So we decided to just observe how they were playing without anything and see how we can enhance that already existing dynamic into something that, they could really see and use and so on. And so the children were there all the time. At that time, we did not have a methodology, but we did have people that studied psychology and education, so they could manage the children. But it was really not a full methodology or anything like that. We started building the park with the children, and as I said, that forced us to simplify our message. Like, there is nothing, we don't have to convince anybody about what we're doing but the children. So how are they going to understand the benefits besides playing? And so they were the ones going to their families and saying, well, this people is doing that, and there are many that cannot use tools or a hammer or anything. Us. So the children were bringing, my grandfather, he's the best at building, so I'll bring him to help you because you cannot do it.
Because you suck.
You suck. Yeah, literally like that. But that, it was a very short process, not more than 8 days, maybe. Oh?
Really?
Yeah, it was super short.
Super short, yeah.
But by the third day, we had the whole community building the space. Like, everybody. It was a very small town, but everybody was there.
They don't ask you, what are you doing here? Why you're doing this? Because you're not from there.
Yeah.
So they should question you.
Yeah. No. Of course they question us, and they also question us why you didn't do the market that we expected when you first came here.
Okay, yeah.
So they did look at us as students still, even if we were not. that just wanted to do something nice. So they're like, well, if there's nothing there and they're gonna do
That's
something,
fine. Yeah, why not?
just do
Let
it.
them.
Why not?
Yeah.
But it evolved in a way that they realized that we managed to get everything that we needed to do the park.
Yeah.
And one thing, we never ask for money, actually. At the end, we only ask the municipality or the provincial government to give us the old tires that they had from the trucks. And then everything else the community brought. I mean, they already had the tools, they already had certain things, and we were there at the space trying to figure out how are we going to build it, what do we need. But by the time we were listing the things that we need, there was already the expertise of the community saying, hey, you don't need anything but this rope that I already have, and I will do it.
But did you spend your own money also?
A little bit, but I mean for transportation.
Okay,
and
not
food,
on by material.
No, not for the materials. That was completely brought by the community, and I have to say they were a very poor community. But they realized that, okay, I think that they also felt this expertise very naturally. They really realized that, okay, they have a good intention, but they really don't know how to use the tools. But I do, so I'm gonna go and teach them. But that created this dynamic that they were teaching us a lot of the stuff, and we were happily learning, and so they built it themselves. We just came there with the possibility, with the idea that this can be done. And it was amazing because, as I told you, the school was in a very bad condition, and so they told us, well, we've been talking to the ministry for them to rebuild it, or to at least, change the windows and make a path to go up, because they had to almost climb a mountain, there were no stairs, nothing. So they're like, well, we've been talking with them for 2 years, but after this, well, I mean, we can just do it ourselves.
True.
And we went back 2 months later, and the school was fully repainted, windows were there, they made the whole stairs themselves. So it was just this spark of, if you get together, you're gonna do it.
Exactly.
We're also very critical about that process, because the people should not necessarily be taking the responsibility of the government. The government is still the main responsible, for us at least, to provide the proper schools and facilities, so they didn't have to wait for the 2 years, and they ideally didn't have to rebuild it themselves either. But at least, so we are not also, going beyond that line, because I think it's good to
know your rights and responsibilities, because now here in Sweden, what I noticed that people are not so much engaged in such projects. And the argument is that, okay, we pay taxes and the government is responsible for this, so they should do their job. It's not my job. I have another job and I pay taxes to them, so fix it. And that's became a kind of, okay, why should I will not involve myself in doing something in a public space or recreating it and so on, because it's not my business,
Yeah, it's not my task either.
Yeah, and there in your story, it's the opposite. Like, what the fuck, the government is not showing up,
Yeah, exactly. And in a way, I mean, it was a great transition from, okay, the government is not showing up, so I keep complaining. But the spark of, I can solve it actually, and it will be better for all of us, was great, because it shifted their needs to something that was already done by themselves, and it empowered them, and it brought them together. But that doesn't mean that if
this is the rule, this is the standard. Yeah, this is the standard. Exactly.
Yeah. That doesn't mean it should always become your task. I mean, I think that still the government is fully responsible of providing these facilities. And it's only, we have to come to this middle ground, as you said, like that, okay.
What is this middle ground from your opinion?
The middle ground is to maybe come back to this expertise, as I was saying, right? That we went there with good intentions, with a few resources, with knowledge, maybe, if you want, from the university. But there was a lot of knowledge that we had no idea about, from what the children needed to how the children played. They play very different than in the city, to the hours that they use the space, to actually using certain tools for that specific soil. Like, no architecture degree gave us the knowledge to dig the hole in that specific ground,
No.
But the people that have been living there,
Exactly.
of course, they knew. So that middle ground is also needed in the government. I mean, the government should have the resources and the knowledge and the processes and the evaluation and all the process in place.
Yeah.
But when you go there, you need to let the people take a part on it fully. So not only ask the people and the consultation that we talk about sometimes in participatory processes.
Gather data.
Yeah, but how do they really feel that the process is theirs? How do you make this process so flexible that everybody can put something about themselves in it?
Okay, so you mean like involving people in doing the action, not only in the like gathering data phase and the mapping phase and talking.
No.
Like let them also be part of the actions.
Of doing it, yeah. And of making mistakes if necessary, of that creativity. That's the only thing that builds our spaces. And I think it's not only for the public space or the very professional urbanism side, but that happens everywhere. Like, and especially in Latin America and probably other similar contexts. People test a lot in their own houses,
Of course.
Some days like, I'm gonna put my chairs out and we are going to drink tea, and then the next day your chairs are not there, and then you think, okay, this was a bad idea. or something. I don't know, you do these different things and you try and learn. And so how do we provide that flexibility for the cities as well, like in wider context, I would say.
The question is, why do we need to do that? I mean, like it's gonna be, there is a system in the city and keep this system. Why you want to break this system and let people experiment in the street? Then it's gonna be, what do you call it? Like in Swedish we say chaos, like chaotic.
Yeah.
So like, what is the point of letting people experiment in the public space? What is the value that we get back?
Well, they're going to do it with or without a system. That for sure. That's the history of cities always and forever. Because even if you are not aware of it, you're always owning a space. Like right now I'm sitting in this chair. I feel the queen of this chair. I can move as I want.
Vivian, it's not ours. The Helsingborg City's chair.
Exactly. The system of Helsingborg has provided this chair.
Careful with this.
I'm taking this chair home. With the taxes of the Swede. No, I'm kidding. No, but what I mean is really that like sometimes we don't feel that connection with the space.
True.
And I feel this so much because as a lawyer, I never thought how the space or the city was influencing what I do every day until I got into this field where architects were telling me, no, if the wall next to you is blue or black, it will change your day completely. And I'm like, nah, come on. But it does.
It does.
But what I meant is that people still, maybe if they don't know these things, they will still have this dynamic of experimenting because of how they feel.
Yeah.
So today I feel that it's sunny and I want to sit in the street, and then I feel that actually the street is not that nice, so I go inside and maybe I need a balcony. You change your mind. So it doesn't matter if it's a system there in place for you to use that space or not. Your feelings are gonna take you to a journey of adapting the space where you want to be if you have the chance.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the chance, sometimes you go against it and you try it, or sometimes you just kind of limit your well-being because the space is not giving you that opportunity of feeling better there, right? Which I think that's the whole sense of justice for me. Like there is so many people that can actually decide how do they want to live, where do they want to be, and then there's so many people that can't, or maybe they can and they don't know that they can yet. And so that's why the participatory processes or the letting them change, and not only that, but facilitating these processes for them to try can bring this sense of justice, because then you're fully a part of the development of your city, and they don't have to think from how do I want my city to be, blah, blah, blah. But how do I want to feel in my own sidewalk? Do I want to feel that I want to sit there and talk to my neighbors, or I don't like my neighbor.
Do you think it's a mistake? Because sometimes I hear that we like professionals, let's say urban planners or let's say all the professionals, they when they reach out to people, they say people don't really give us an answer like about how they would like to see their future city and what is like a 2050 city looks like.
Yeah.
And I think, as you mentioned now, it's because like it's, how to say, the scale is too big and it's too abstract and right. So well, like, what is your advice? What should we focus on when we talk to people? Like,
I think a lot on the emotions, like how do you feel today sitting here doing this? What will make you feel better on this specific space and on the spaces that you normally go to? What is a place that you never go to and why? Because it's always because of a feeling or of course of a need. But mainly I think the emotions drive us into what we want and we don't want. And so this is also when probably the children's narrative comes back because they are more connected to their emotions and less to what the system tells them to do. So of course, when you talk to them about how they feel, about where do they want to be, I mean, if I ask them, what is the child-friendly city for 2030 to children? Believe me, they will never say, I want 1,000 playgrounds made of chocolate. No. They will tell you, well, my parents are suffering because they cannot go to work because the bus doesn't come. If they're real needs, they are super aware of that.
Yeah.
So I want my mom to feel better. I want my mom to be happier when she comes home because she doesn't like her work or because she's working too much. I like my grandparent to come with me to the park, but he doesn't come because he doesn't have a place to sit or he gets bored or there are not other elderly. So these are hints that no designer, urban planner, needs to know as I need more benches, I need a toilet, I need a better transportation system,
So like focus more on feelings to get the answer about the physical, like more focus on the software in order to get how should the hardware look like.
Yeah.
Instead of asking the opposite. So what is like a good place or what is the city? How will this city look like in the future?
Yeah. Or we do a lot of these workshops with children where you say, draw your favorite park. And then you get 100 drawings of a swing because that's what the idea of a park.
That's true, right?
So that's not the way. I think you have to go out with them and just let them do what they want to do and then observe when are they the happiest. Maybe they're the happiest when they manage to wrestle in the public space. Or maybe they're the happiest jumping from house to house or, playing to ring the bell and run to the next house. They don't even look at the swing when you go out with them and do that. So looking at those emotions really allows you to think. Then, of course, your task and your responsibility as a designer to think about the hardware and the design that would allow these emotions to happen again and again in the public space.
So back to that story, like, okay, you did that public space was a focus on, like, it's on the playground. So then did it become that, okay, your niche is working for children?
Well, not really. We then moved to the next space.
Okay.
And it took us a few spaces to say, we should focus on children.
How many years are we talking about?
So this was 2014. I think maybe 2016, we decided a little bit more that we wanted to have a methodology for children specifically.
Okay.
And 2016 was also the year that the municipality called us to work with them as a business.
Oh, that's good.
And
all the 16, the...
Yeah. I mean, not the full year, but certain projects.
Yeah.
And then 2017, we all went to study our masters abroad. So then we stopped it.
Okay.
And when in 2018, we came back and we said, like, no, actually, this should be a company.
More a formal business.
Yeah, formal business. Also because, of course, we realized that the work that we do is not charity. We are adding so much value to the city, to the people around. We are boosting the economy in some ways. So this should be, and this is a serious business, and it should be everybody's business, in a way. So that's why we transition into this part, because people ask us, why? Oh, you work with children, so nice.
They feel sorry for you.
Yeah. Why don't you do an NGO? That would be nicer. We're like, well, we could, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
And I think politically we are very strong in that sense, that charities are great, philanthropies are great, you can give a lot of money, but there's still a one-man decision of what do I feel sorry about? And it shouldn't be like that. It's really, we should be very aware of what brings value to the community, and the public sector should bring value to the community and also to the private sector. So it should be seen as a business in a way, like I'm not saying it's far different from, say, privatizing, right? It's more like we need to start talking about value and not talking about money. And I think that, the private sector can bring a lot of money to the city, and at some point you need it. But if you don't have the public sector that brings the value, that brings the stabilizer, that brings the justice in a way, if you want to put it, the city is always going to be unfair. The city is going to always be unlivable in a way, because you are in completely different conditions. So I think that what we're doing through talking to the community, to changing the spaces, even though it's a public task in a way, it has so many nuances to it that bring value, and that you can, I'm not sure if this is the word I want to use, but that you can monetize at the end and say, especially because of the context that we live in which only monetization is valued.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's use that tool for now until value becomes the real measure for everything, right?
Yeah.
A social value, emotional value that we're talking about. So I think, we became a private business and not an NGO, because we believe in that value, and we are kind of, okay, we have to be in this system that values it in money, maybe. But it's more because we want to make that statement of value in a different way, and not that you expect that certain topics need to be someone rich being sorry about it and certain topics, should be about, I don't know, needs, or that people just like it and spend their money on it. So
is it the same reaction you get when you tell people that you work with focus on children? They say, oh, that's sweet, oh my God, like this feeling sorry?
Yeah. And how many children do you have? No, we get that reaction a lot. And also of not being taken seriously, right? Because children are not taken seriously themselves. No. So, you work with children, it must be super nice.
Yeah, like colors and fun and jokes and happiness.
Exactly. And it's not like that. It's not like that at all. Children are having so many crises that are reflected because of the way we build our societies, right? So if you take children seriously, if you take their development serious, you are building resilient adults that live in less conflicted societies. And it's probably this idea of, children don't matter for now. That gives us to the consequence that we grow up and then we feel that we are not valued as adults either. No?
Yeah.
Because the way you're treated when you're young shapes completely the way your personality is when you're older. So bringing that value to them, making them understand how amazing they are, how much knowledge they have, giving them the freedom to explore what they like and what they don't like, and to make the decisions, and to also respect the other children's decisions. That shapes them into adults that will do the same with their peers at an older age, right? So I think we have to be very serious about how we treat our children and the topic of children in general.
Is it true that a city for children is a city for everyone? Because Some people say, no, it's not true because I'm an adult. I want to go nightclub, and it's not something related to children.
Yeah.
So do you agree that a city for children is a city for everybody?
I do because I think that you can use children as an indicator in a way of how healthy a city is, how safe a city is, because you will think like, okay, if a child can be running around, then you will feel safer, whether you have children or not, or whether you want to go to the nightclub or not. So
you like the example was random about the nightclub.
And I mean, if you see the children sitting outside the nightclub at 2 a.m., you'll doubt about the healthiness of your city, right? So exactly. I mean, no, it is a good indicator for everybody. But also when you look at the needs of the children, you can create better systems in general. So for example, in terms of mobility, okay, we have always planned the transportation systems in a way that we want to make sure that everybody gets to work and then to shopping and then back. Because we've always had this monetization model of how is the city producing more, how is the city making more money. So like we need people working and spending and coming back.
Yeah.
But if you really look at the numbers, the people that uses transportation system the most is the people that are caregivers and with caregiving obligations. So if you compare a 25-year-old man with a stable job, they do 2 trips a day to work and to home, maybe 3 if they do something. They go to the nightclub. But,
or to the gym, like exactly. The 3 points, the
3 points. But if you look at, I don't know, let's put a mother, but it could be anybody taking care of someone else. Or let's put, someone that is also 25, also a man, but that has to take care of their grandma, for example, right? Then you need to first take them to the hospital and then maybe take them for some recreation and then going back to the, to the house to eat, and then maybe they have to go to the bank and you have to take them. They cannot do these things. And so you end up doing 6-8 trips a day. So there's this whole theory, if you want, of the mobilities of care that really show you the real need in the transportation system and what creates congestion, right? So if you manage to actually use things as the 15-minute city and put the facilities in a way that they have to move the same amount of times maybe, but closer, and then you put maybe the work farther for the people who only have to go to their works, then the traffic for everybody is less. So everybody has more time for doing what they feel good about, going back to the emotions. And it can be that I feel better about going to visit my grandma, and a mom feels better if they can reach to their house at 5 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. and be with their children. And it can be that you feel better because you have more time now to go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, we don't all need to be parents and have children to like the city, but we are all earning more time to feel better about ourselves. And I think that is the real indicator of the child-friendly cities, that because we have excluded them as a population, but they have such a big decision-making in their family lives, in their caregivers, and the caregivers are a lot in the demographics, they end up making the dynamic of the city crucial. And if we don't look from that lens, but from someone else's dynamics, we are being blind at what is actually, taking less or taking time from us, taking space from us. So adapting that will make it better for everyone.
So a child-friendly city is not only about looking on children and creating playgrounds and colorful walking path or biking lines.
No, not at all, I would say. It's about the development of children and what that means for their families. And this can also, I mean, you can question that if you live in a city where there are no families, do you need this? If you live in a city where the demographics is not about children and caregivers, do you actually need to think about the child-friendly city? Maybe you live in San Francisco, and in San Francisco it's about being a CEO of your own technological company, and you live with other 25 to 30-year-olds, and you don't care about children. But studies have shown that these cities don't live too long, because at some point in your life, most of the people will want a family. So they'll move out of those cities. So those cities are not sustainable anymore. So the city that is not thinking about how to include families as a demographic in their cities, they're not going to last. So if you ask me, everybody should be thinking about the child-friendly city, yes, because either you don't last as a city, you'll be unsustainable at some point, and you'll create unsustainable communities, because it means your population is going to be moving out all the time, because once you get a child, you don't want to live there anymore, and then
of course
it's not a community anymore. Or you do live in a city where you have families, and then you have to take care of the needs of that demographic group in order for all the city to thrive.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea, and that's why we push for this child-friendly city thing. But it's definitely, I mean, you can do a lot with playgrounds, and
of
they're
course,
amazing, but it's definitely not reduced to that.
And also, like, because during the 2 days, yesterday during the Placemaking Day here in Helsingborg, we did a workshop about with focus on children or child-friendly city, and also this playfulness and what does it mean. And you gave us so many interesting information. I would love that you also share with our listeners the one about how playfulness can impact children, even if they're like hungry, or how was it like yesterday when you mentioned?
So there are a lot of studies about early childhood development and children development in general, right? So we've always thought, when we talk about children, the world has mostly focused on nutrition. So zero hunger is like one of the biggest labels you will have. And of course, education and health. Yeah. Providing water facilities and proper nutrition and food and so on. But newer studies are kind of shifting, because they've realized that in many moments of crisis, you will still not be able to comply with these needs. I mean, in a sudden war crisis, for example, or in the climate change crisis that it's coming more and more tangible, you will not be able to provide food and all the needs that people have urgently. So we need to build more resilient humans, which is also a narrative that we can criticize in other point. But you need to build humans that will be able to, accept those shocks and then build better from those shocks. And so resilience is a big idea of early childhood development now. How we make that these children, no matter what conditions they have to confront in the future, because we are in a future, we're looking at uncertainty. That's the only certain thing. How we make sure that they are strong and that they can cope with that. So play is one of the rights that should be taken into account, because when I say, I'm going to this place and I want to build a playground for children, as I did in the first example, they were like, yes, but we need a market, or our children don't even have food, and look at the school. Why are you focusing on play and not on everything else if that's secondary? But I think now, if you are hungry, and this is very much into the personal emotion, if you are hungry and you have nothing else to do, you'll feel more hungry. Like you feel you need more, right?
Like psychologically, you're gonna think about that. You're hungry.
I know this is a simple example, but and if you're hungry and distracted, well, maybe you forget a little bit about that essential need for a while. I'm not saying that it's not something that we have to care about, but it's true that if you are a child in a vulnerable situation, that it's about crisis, that it's about war, that it's about migration, it's very possible that you will feel hunger for a while. But if you have a strong connection with your caregiver, if you feel that someone's going to give you the support, if you feel that everything's going to be all right, if you feel that, well, I can still play and laugh and forget about the seriousness of the world right now, you will become more resilient. And I'm putting these in very simple examples, like, okay, you'll feel more hungry or less hungry, which sounds very simplistic, but in the scientific world, I mean, the studies show that really your brain keeps building the connections that you need to be a well-off adult, you know, to be able to develop your cognitive skills, your physical skills, even if you did not receive a proper nutrition. So they say it's very nice, but when you are 0 to 3, you have almost 1 million connections in your brain per second.
Wow.
So we have no second to lose, you know.
Wow.
And then you lose that when you're an adult. So when you're a child, all these connections are happening because you're learning about everything that's happening in the environment. And so if you don't have anything to learn from, even if you are well fed, then that opportunity of making those neuronal connections goes away. And even if you give everything that a child needs when they're 8 or when they're 9, that opportunity is gone. So we really need to focus on early childhood development to provide everything that they need to make those connections, because that's what's going to make you a stronger adult in all the senses, emotionally, physically, cognitively, in the sense of resilience. So we're trying to now put this value on play as a right that has to happen at the same level of nutrition, of education, or water, because that's what's gonna build resilience. And so yesterday we were talking about play, of course, but play in a way that you can use that to build 3 specific principles of development. So the first principle is to build stronger relationships so that you feel part of a community, that you feel that you can count on someone. It can be your parents, it can be your best friend, it could be anyone, but you know you have a person to go to. That's crucial for children, for everyone. The second, that you can build skills, so emotional, cognitive, creative skills. And of course, the third is that you feel good. We were talking about that, but it's specifically we talk about reducing stress, because the stress, even if you're well fed, even if you do sports, if you have a stress in your physical system, you're not going to be healthy. So we talk about reducing stress and well-being and feeling better. So these 3 things we need to make sure that happen in our children, and play is a great tool to achieve that.
So now, what are you focusing on
in general,
like in from your at your work? So what is your focus areas now, and what kind of project you work with now?
Yeah, so we have 3 areas. We call the child-friendly city a vision. That's what we work on. But we have, of course, different methodologies, different projects that we want to work on. The first one is very much on play. So how do we advocate for play in a way that we see the value for the whole society through that? Not only play for children, but for everyone, because even if you think about that we were playing yesterday, that brings a lot of connection among us, that brings a lot of creativity, that brings you to think outside of the box. So if we can create more elements of play for everyone, we can also develop better skills for everyone at any point, and also build better relationships, reduce the stress, etc. So we focus a lot on that. The second thing that we focus on is on this methodology of urban pedagogy, we call it. So it's a methodology to teach children about the public space and how they can make their own public spaces, how they can influence those public spaces. And this is a mix, of course, of knowing how the built and natural environment impact what you do every day in your life, and being able to connect with it and being empowered to do something about it, like what we do in placemaking all the time. But also it's a way for governments to expand their limits of participation. So that again, they don't go and say, okay, draw here what you want, and then we make it up. Then we'll buy the standard swing that they actually, draw.
Yeah.
But to really go through a critical process of what you need. But also because not only for children, but also because children act as the messengers of the whole community. And maybe going back to why we decided to work with children in the first place, and why the municipality called us, is because we used to go to the public spaces and say, we're going to do something. So we used to talk to the neighbors.
Yeah.
But when you knock a door, the neighbors will be like, yeah, but who are you? From which political party are you?
Yeah.
Why are you going to do something?
What is your agenda?
Here? What is your agenda? And you must have a hidden agenda.
Mm.
But children realized that, or did not doubt us. It's like, okay, what are you going to do? Like, what's going to be the end result? Or how am I going to have fun in the process?
Yeah.
So then when we work with children, we really knew how to simplify that message, and they will bring the message to the adults, as I said, right? So the municipality also very smartly thought, hey, come.
Yeah.
We have projects to do, but when we go, we cannot really grasp the needs of the people, because either they are already doubting the government, or they're from the opposition, or they just ask us for needs because they come to the top of their heads, but not because they need it. So can you go and talk to the children and tell us what we should do in each neighborhood?
Okay.
And that's the moment in which we develop a methodology to work with children for the development of neighborhoods, not for the development of spaces for children, but for the development of neighborhoods. Yeah. And it was specifically about how to gather the needs of the neighborhood by asking the children, because they will know better.
Why not asking the adults?
Because the adults are biased.
Okay. Now I understand the point. Like, okay.
Yeah. So not always, of course. Maybe there are some.
No, for sure. There are always. Yeah.
But I mean, it happened a lot. It's like, in the other neighborhood, you put a pool. I also want a pool. But do you really need a pool? I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, like a giving example. But that sucks, actually. Because also yesterday, I had also, like when we were having the dinner, we talked about, it's sad that cities lost connection with people.
Yeah.
And now start using like hiring others. I know like sometimes there's a limit of resources and so on. But there is no these boundaries like between you as a civil servant and the people. And you see it's difficult to go and knock on door and talk to people.
Yeah, no, completely. It's sad in a way, yes, because they are the public servants, so they are there to serve the public, right? And if there's no connection with the public, sometimes they don't know what to do. They don't know their next action. But it's also good that they are trying these creative ways to explore how they can connect to the people again. And since they've been doing the same things for so long, maybe that creativity doesn't come from them anymore, sadly. So if they can bring groups that are trying and testing things out, maybe then they can, of course, take that over and change it. So again, is this fine line on what the public should do and the private should do. But we also need to know as a business that we don't want to stay there in that municipality doing that job forever.
Because then you become a municipality.
Exactly. So we just want to spark that creativity. Like, hey, we're going to test the methodology. We'll tell you the results. Then you go and you do it
work
yourself.
Further with it.
And you evaluate it and change it in time. I mean, this shouldn't be your...
Like the forever model.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's also like, I also wanted to mention that when we say like... citizen doesn't want always complain or civil servant they are not brave enough to knock on the door. We don't mean everybody. Of course there are like the one who are good in doing this, they're the one who are lazy in doing this. So when I address this, I also want to say like shout out to the people that doing the job. And when we say like cities are not brave enough, I don't mean like all the cities, but it's an example like we have a challenge and we're trying to address it and pass it.
Yeah. And of course, going back to how you feel every day, it applies here too, because sometimes you can be this amazing public servant that want to talk to everyone, but you feel disencouraged when you see that, okay, even if I wouldn't be doing anything, it wouldn't matter, and it's just such a personal decision.
Yeah.
So how do we facilitate the lives of public servants as well? So how do we come with models that will keep them building creativity, keep them motivated, keep them feeling good every day about what they do? And that's why I'm talking about emotions so closely to systems. I do think we need systems. I do think we need methodologies. I do think that we need to analyze it sometimes farther to learn the lessons from every process that we do. But the end goal is to feel good about it at every point.
Yeah.
Even if you are talking crisis, even if you're talking poverty, even if you're talking very harsh conversations, the end goal is I'll feel better after this. I'll feel that I can do something. I'll feel empowered. I feel that I've brought value. And I think for public servants, we need to also provide that trust and provide that environment where they can grow thinking that in their roles they will do something that it's great.
Yeah. And like what do you think the biggest mistake we are doing when we plan cities?
I think the biggest mistake
from this point of view, like the child-friendly city point of view.
Yeah, I think that the biggest mistake is ignoring, as I said, that the seriousness of how you treat your children. We focus a lot again on the money, what will bring us money as a city, and maybe we need to attract investment. That's the biggest idea, right?
The ecosystem,
the creative economy that I love, but that's for me that's still a big mistake, because you're still focusing on how to make money, and making money doesn't make you healthy, doesn't make you happy. It's not an immediate condition for you to feel good. For me, it will be this feel good city, like how do I make people feel good in this city, feel really happy, feel relaxed, and that's maybe this new concept of healthy cities and so on, that you focus so much on the emotions, because it's a very simple concept. But you see there are a lot of very rich people that could have everything in their lives, but they're not happy. It's the same with our cities. You can have the richest city that produces so much, but people is not happy in the city. So the biggest mistake, I think, is still going to that productivity money mentality instead of that feeling good mentality. Like I feel part of the community, or I have fun here, or I am myself in this city. I feel happy every day. And when I'm not happy, I can go to someone in this city. So the emotional city, if you want to put it like that,
So like emotions should be the starting point, somehow.
I think so. Yeah. And children connect you a lot to the emotions. So the child-friendly city it's also like a good frame to start from.
Do we need? Because let's say I study urban planning, but we didn't study some course about how people feel or emotions on this kind of we study we study how to create experience, but we didn't really focus on emotions. So now I'm here, I'm working, many urban planners are already in a senior level. So how can we get this knowledge of thinking, emotions and so on? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. What can we do?
I think there are two things you can do. So one is to bring this to the education system from very early, because in the school, I don't know how is it here in Sweden, honestly, but in many places they don't teach you this emotional intelligence or how to connect with your emotions, or how to communicate your emotions, even as a child. They teach you hard skills like maths and literature and physics and English. So everybody has a hard time being emotional or vulnerable, or being able to express it. So that's one thing. We need to really focus on that as part of the education system as well, as part of teaching, as part of learning, as part of connecting. But the other thing is, yes, what do we do with the adults that already, maybe are 50 years old in a municipality? And I would say that the best thing is to allow them to click with their emotions in the space. So maybe some people would be like, yeah, what is this at the beginning?
Yeah, exactly. This is bullshit.
This is bullshit. But then if you can give them the right data, the moment after they feel the emotion that tells them the benefit, then it will be, an eye-opener.
Yeah.
So yesterday we went to the play space. The first thing we did is we talked about our own emotions. Where did we like to play? What is that memory that brought us happiness? We played with each other. We fought. We jumped. We kind of experienced it ourselves. We allowed ourselves to feel those emotions in a very professional setting, if you want. And then we discussed, okay, what spatial feature would allow you to feel this emotion even more? Like in your profession, in the things you've learned from the university, can you now connect it and say this 2x2 bench will make more people happy? And then you feel like, why is it important to be happy in the public space?
Yeah.
So that connection of very hard data still, or, very hard skills, but with the soft skills that now you're allowed to explore in a professional setting, can provide this new dynamic, I think, of how to think about everything, not only urban planning, but if you are an economist in the bank and you can play, and I think every setting where you can play, when you can be yourself, when you can be creative, when you can think outside the box, when you can enter to the magic circle, we call it, when you do a game. When you do a game, the game always has to be voluntary. Yeah. So it has to be that imaginary place where you're playing and it's not real life. That's called the magic circle, like the one in Helsingborg that I want to call the magic circle. No, but that is the magic circle, right? So if you create more magic circles in every space, professional settings, familiar settings, etc., you will create another type of relationships that will allow you to think about your daily life, your daily work in a completely different way.
And because I guess you work with so many projects, with so many different clients and so on. Let's say I'm also a professional working, and then I want to raise up this question of we should make it more child-friendly, or look at child-friendly city aspect within this project. And then the client be like, no, I don't want to do that. So how can I deal with this situation just to convince the client that this is what we should think about, the child perspective or the child aspect in this project? Where to start?
I think a great way to do it, and you are doing it already really good, is to tell the stories. Everybody has a story, and they're going to have a story, and they're going to have a story that was shaped based on their childhood. And psychologically speaking, everything that we do as adults was in a way marked or defined because of something that marked us as children. And if you search for that personal story, you will think, what was it in their childhood that was amazing and they would like every child to have? Or what was it in their childhood that they hated and they don't want any other child to experience the same thing? And that can be in any space, that can be, as I said, if it's an economist or a politician or whatever mark their personal lives in their childhood, they can replicate that from the position that they're having now for the future children, or for the children that we have now everywhere. And I think that is a great motivation for them to see from that perspective. From whatever you do, what can you do for the children? What can you do for your inner children, in a way, at some point? And I say that because I also think that all of us have power to change the world individually. So whatever made us who we are today, that came from our childhood, it could be anyone. That person can change their daily tasks or their daily jobs, thinking about the children now. So
it's possible.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
It sounds very idealistic, but I think it's possible. Yeah.
What are the recent project that you work on? And I know that you started the PhD as well.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, something happened in my childhood then. No, well, I'm working in this play advocacy. I'm working in this project of urban pedagogy. So we're trying to test the methodology of how we can teach children about the public space and how it influences their emotions, but then how they can influence back to the municipality. And we're testing it in Ecuador right now, but we want to develop a flexible methodology that we can be tested everywhere. So if anybody wants to do it, I'll be happy to discuss it. And my PhD is about child-friendly cities.
When did you start it, and with which university?
I'm doing it in the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. And I'm part of the spatial science faculty. But I am doing it from a perspective of public policy a little bit. So
what are you going to explore, or the research question? Or what do you call it? Research question?
Yeah, research question. Well, it's.
I sound very academic now.
We're all academics too much.
Professor Mustafa.
Professor Mustafa. Yeah, no, really. No, I mean, the research question is what are the things or the factors that enable or hinder or stop politicians specifically or public servants to build child-friendly cities? So
is it not the answer clear, like economy? No, money?
Yeah, that's the thing, no? So you ask them, they say, resources. It's not that. It's what we were talking right now. It's like, I'm not aware that a child needs something to develop in certain way because I study architecture. I didn't study child development. I don't know.
Like I study material, colors, and how the thing is that we know so much about materials, like how the material feel good, in which temperature, next to which material they have a good relationship, but we have no idea about people.
Yeah, exactly.
Really.
Yeah. So when you think about that, people don't tell you knowledge. People are like, of course, children are beautiful. I would love to do things for children, but I don't have the money or I don't have the time. It's not that. You just don't have the awareness.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
So how long is your PhD?
It's 4 years.
Wow.
So I'm in my second year now.
Already, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. But I want to explore this narrative of child-friendly cities. Almost, yes, it sounds like a label, but I want to explore what are these knowledge elements that the municipalities already have, but they are not exploding, because they don't connect it to the label of child-friendliness. And what are those things that they really don't have, and that we can create tools for them to connect and to actually achieve child-friendly cities, because there are municipalities who do it perfectly,
That's true. Shout out to all of them. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, Helsingborg, I think it's a great example just from looking at it in both ways. So it's, well, first of all, it's a small city as well. And
the scale helps a lot.
The scale helps definitely a lot, that you can have children, running around everywhere. But at the same time, I think there is a strong awareness degree in the city about what you want to do for children.
True.
I think maybe even with the expo a lot more, but it's amazing that you can see the important places of the city following a character that is specifically designed for children, and you're learning about your city in a playful way. And it's not only what the children are learning, is that adults make decisions based on what children need. So if I'm a parent, it doesn't matter how much I love my independence. I need to provide for my children. So whatever they want to do, I'm going to do for a while, right? So a lot of these decisions of what the children are looking at, as an adult, I will also look at. So they're also learning through these. They're also going to these parks and being active. They are also, learning about the ocean life. Because that's what their children want to go and see.
It's interesting. We think we are adults. We can influence our decisions, but in the end, it happened with me last week. Because my sister lived here in Helsingborg, and she has 2 children. And I told her, let's go to this area. And she'd be like, if there is something for my kids to do, I'm coming with you. And I said, yes. Imagine the entire, the decision making was based on if there's something for them to do for the children.
Yeah.
And also this is what I love about H22. It's not because the City Expo, not because I'm the ambassador and I want to say cool things and so on. But they really thought about the child perspective, the activities,
Mm-hmm.
There is this talks for the businesses, but you always see some activities for children.
Yeah.
Always integrated in all the activities, which is I see really great, I'm so happy. Now I can visit every destination with children.
Exactly. And it's so amazing because you are a global expo, right?
Yeah.
And what happens in these professional settings is that people is like, oh, where am I going to leave my children?
Exactly.
I have to travel for 4 days. I have to leave. There's so much arrangements. I probably don't go. But if you can come to a professional expo to do all your business things, and your children will have fun and will see it and will be excited about it, it's a completely new world for yourself. Right?
True.
So I think it's an amazing job, but I'm also curious actually because you work on child-friendly cities so much.
Yeah. So it's my passion and mission and love.
I'm really curious about if anything of what I've said so far is new to you, or you will think no, that doesn't work that.
No,
because
of course.
I'm not talking, from a perspective that I know about child-friendly cities and nobody else does. Everybody does that start from there, but you are such a professional in
Thank
this.
Thank you. No, why I was, chasing to talk to you, because you're not an urban planner.
Yeah.
I'm an urban planner.
Yeah.
So your perspective is completely different from what the perspective I have or work with. Now, what I learned from you now, is thinking about the emotional part as a door to create better cities. Or think about the other side, how children influence our decisions and make us feel good.
Yeah.
And think more about the software first, then the hardware. So I don't do it exactly 100% as how you thinking. So now now I think we talk, it's 1 hour, 30 minutes, but I'm enjoying it so much because this is inspiring, I'm thinking, okay, how do I integrate this? How do I integrate this? And I totally agree. What I work with now is more focusing on children, their experience and the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
But my interest point is not really emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It's more okay, both software and hardware, but not I don't talk emotion as a first thing.
Mm-hmm.
We talk more about how do you experience. But I think I should step back and talk about emotions, because experience are emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's you just have to say, now you upgraded me.
Well, thank you. No, because I also see your work, and I see how you have invited children here, and you give that space, for them to talk about what's important. And I think, as you said, we think we influence everything that children do, but they influence what we do. And giving them a space like this is giving them serious space for being influential. So I think that all these are just building into what we can create as a society. Yeah, from the emotional side, from the hardware side, from every space.
Exactly.
So.
And about your PhD, I'm also interested. How is it to do a PhD? What do you do now? First years, you read, or what is the process? Because I know with many of my colleagues, we talk about, okay, so what if somebody do PhD? How is it inside?
Yeah.
It's a good moment to ask you.
Yeah. It's a very different process for everybody. Let's start by that. It's an individual process in most of the cases. Sometimes you enter to a research project, so there is a topic and a question that it's already been defined by the university or a company, so you enter and then you do your job. That's one way. But when you can propose the topic, or when you just get individually hired, it's a very individual journey.
Okay.
So, but I can talk from my perspective, and I am in a PhD where I could choose completely my topic, and I can choose a bit how I work. It's a very flexible one, yes. And I came with the idea of the child-friendly cities because I was working on child-friendly cities, and I was really curious, like, okay, we know what are the benefits of being child-friendly. We know how to do child-friendly cities, like how to design these amazing cities, playgrounds, mobility, everything.
Yeah, of course.
Why the hell are they not happening? That's my research question, actually.
Oh, this is the real one.
Question.
Not the one you talk about on there.
Exactly. Like, what the hell is happening?
What the... I should put these sounds on.
Sorry, yes. This is child-friendly podcast. Not anymore.
What the hell is happening?
Yeah,
4 years to answer this question.
4 years to answer this question. So I figured, I will talk to the people who make the decisions and see what are their main drivers, personal drivers also, like what.
Okay.
So what is, like, as a politician, what drives you to make a decision in the ground or in the policy or in the spatial aspect? Is it that, I don't know, you want votes? Or is it that you really believed on something? Or is it that you got the knowledge from someone and you got inspired and you want to replicate it? So I want to really understand what are those incentives, if we want to call it like that, of the people making the decisions to make that decision. So I'm putting it under the label of child-friendliness because I'm interested in that, because I think that's important, because I think that's novel for urban planning as well.
Yeah.
But this could be for anything. I think that if we understand what is
like
the main
reasons,
motivation, you could, in a way, shape or... I don't know, guide those motivations
to work on it,
to what we know is already beneficial.
So you're gonna do interviews. Is it only in the Netherlands, or you have like different cities from?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. So, but it's good what you ask. The first year you only read.
Exactly, like what's happening. Yeah.
You make sure that nobody else has answered your question already, because that happens a lot.
What do you do? Like you Google like. What?
You do. Why not?
It's a lot of reading, right? In the first.
It's a lot of reading at the beginning.
Is it boring?
A little bit. It's confusing, honestly. Why? Because I think a disadvantage in life is not to have information, but having too much information is also a disadvantage. Like, you need to make a decision already on how to simplify your life, because you're not going to solve the whole world, the whole field.
It's a contribution.
It's a contribution of something very little. So you need to narrow it down. So the first year is about exploring everything that you can, and then deciding, I need to stop exploring.
What if you find that, okay, somebody answer your question?
Yeah, then...
You give back the money to the university?
Yeah, it's like, well, we have to go. Yeah, it's funny because it happens, and it happens a lot, that you find that they've already answered.
And you're like, oh fuck, no.
Yeah, it's like, well, now I'm a PhD. Now, it happens a lot.
Really?
So then what people do is they build on that. So
okay, yeah.
So somebody answered my question in Sweden.
Yes.
But nobody has seen this question in Ecuador, which is another context. So I'm going to test what the Swedish are doing in Ecuador to see if this is applicable in every context. Okay. That's a way you can
So you like upgrade.
Yeah, you upgrade it. Or you say, somebody answered the question, but I don't trust their model of how they answer it. Okay. So maybe it's wrong. So then you go.
Really?
And then you...
Like do it on your our way.
Yeah, you replicate it. Or it's great if you do it again, because maybe then you find the mistake that the person before did.
I didn't know that.
So
that you can do this.
Yeah, of course, because scientific knowledge it exists until someone can disprove it. So that means we need to have people disproving all these theories all the time.
Oh my God. I think we can do that in the coming years when we have the AI, when we put the data, and then we can put the PhDs and see which one is like
who made a mistake.
which one is a fake one, which one is like a true story. But then there's a problem, like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a complicated.
There is, because who has built and designed that robot?
Yeah, and then
right?
and then maybe the data are the same data that went to the PhDs, and then
exactly.
Then there's no point of doing the robot.
I mean, if humans have something, a resource that will last forever, is questions. So no.
So you were reading first like year or months?
I was reading the first year.
Yeah.
I have to say that I came with an advantage and a disadvantage.
Okay.
So the advantage was that I worked a lot in practice, so I really knew why I wanted to answer that question.
Yeah, you have
Yeah, but I didn't know that much about research itself. And my supervisors always tell me, Viviana, you're writing a PhD, not a pledge. Because I always
there's a style,
I always come to decide that I want to advocate for these. I want to find the enablers. I want to find what motivates them so I can push them to do.
And then you're not allowed to take a side, right?
Of course, I'm not allowed to take a side. So I have to be very open to think, maybe child-friendly cities is a very
bad thing,
or a concept that will not take us anywhere.
Imagine in the end of your PhD, you will be on the newspaper. Vivian, the one who advocates for it.
Adult-centric city will be my...
And everyone, we want our money back.
Yes, all my money back. No, really, and this happens to a lot of people, actually, and you're in your own topic and there and studying, and then you realize, oh my God, these 4 years took me to just prove that I was wrong all the time.
Oh my God, change profession, be a translator, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's my next profession. I'm gonna be a
now, by the way, for the listeners, we are talking about translation because yesterday we had, or you tell the story because they asked you to do it.
Well, it was very random, but we had...
I thought it was planned.
Oh, well, good.
No, it was really good. I thought really it was everything was arranged. And...
No. No, we had the vice mayor of Pontevedra in Spain. So she spoke English, actually, but she felt more comfortable speaking Spanish. Yeah. So Charlotte, who's the Placemaking Europe director, she also speaks Spanish, actually, and very well.
That's why she was like, I was like, does Charlotte understand Spanish, or she's just doing this to make things looks good? Yeah,
like to nod. I understand. No, she speaks very good Spanish. Cool. So she was going to translate or to help if actually the vice mayor was going to speak in English, and then if Charlotte could explain something further, she would do it. But then she came to me and she's like, well, you actually are a native speaker, so can you translate?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do my best.
It was really good. No.
So
it was really good.
I think now I have a new space in my heart for translators because it's so hard to memorize what the person before was saying. And
especially because I translate from Arabic to Swedish or to English sometimes for my parents, and in the beginning, they were telling like the entire story, and I don't remember anything, just the name of my dad. Then I told them like, tell me one sentence by one sentence,
Exactly. No, and then there's the real thing of lost in translation. That happens in everything. So. But no, I think, because it was good that she actually knows English.
Yeah, because when we were asking, she understood, and the answer was perfect because like she told it in Spanish and you translate in a good way. So
yeah, or
we hope that you translate it in the right way.
I hope the same. No, I think that's what I was saying. It's like, okay, if she wouldn't speak English, I could say anything. She wouldn't know anyways.
Yeah,
she has to trust me, right? But she knows. So whenever I translate, she's gonna be aware of did she do it good or not. So I was
the fun part when she said about the speed limit, and she says something in Spanish, and you be like, how do I translate this? And then she told me, it's a speed limit.
Ah, yes, because I was like, I also found it super funny because she was saying, oh, the car sound, roon, roon.
Yeah.
And people were looking at me to see if I
How
would do the roon, roon. I had to do it. I mean, I could not skip it.
This is like a literally good translator.
Yes, like it's a roon, roon.
Because, like I talked with some translator when we came here to Sweden. We couldn't speak Swedish, so we had always a translator with us. And they in the start, they how to say, they don't like, they swear that I will translate every single letter or every single thing's happening because they have obligation. It's like swear on the Bible or something like this. But but they have to say something in the beginning, like, as a translator, I have the responsibility to translate everything.
Okay, yes,
and now
yes.
I remember, you translate even the sound.
But I'm curious, when you get here, then the government gives you a translator.
Yeah. It's like, how to say, it's I don't know, like we are, how to say, we're so lucky to be here, to came here. Like, you get a translator, and there is also specific translators. Like my mom, in the beginning, she needed to go to the doctor when we arrived. And there was a specific translator with a specialty in medicine and operations, It's not like a general translator.
Yeah.
This translator has a specific area to translate Swedish to Arabic within hospital and medicine.
Yeah.
And there's another one for business, like it's too luxury.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. But also I'm thinking, for example, because, well, I don't know specifically in Sweden, but in many places where you come, when you migrate, right?
Yeah.
And you have so many things that you don't know if you should be saying, right?
True.
If you don't know if the government can, because you are on the hands of the government to stay or to not stay.
Yeah.
Or so if the translator understands everything, do they also have a contract in which they have to keep your secrets? I don't know.
Yeah, they have. They say, if I remember correctly, they say this, that they are going to translate, and they to keep everything inside the room. That what happens here stays here, and they are not gonna tell anything. They say like the introduction.
Oh, this is. I mean, I
very
think
important.
this is so important,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know how to. I don't want to make this connection, but the way you connect this to the children, in a way that I think that if you're in a situation like that, like a child, you feel how your parents feel. Maybe if your mom had to tell you, like, don't say anything in front of this strange person, or say it, or so the way that they have implemented this system in a way that you feel good about it,
exactly, yeah,
can make such a difference.
True.
Compared to other.
Yeah, like it's more of freedom that for children, like to express themselves, Yeah.
But you say this is a luxury, but it shouldn't be.
It's a right.
It's
a right. I think the right of
and especially because. I mean, we live in the same world.
I mean, I say luxury because for me, like coming from country with war, I see this too much, right? But as you say, it's a right.
Yeah, and I mean, there are all these countries with resources, right?
Yeah.
And I know they look first for their citizens, but we're not making it anywhere as a world
together. Yeah,
together. If we don't do it together, so.
True.
It's a lot about building this understanding among cultures, among different situations, among different vulnerabilities. And I think language, like children speak a language that everybody understands.
Yeah.
We all have children or are near children, and we know what they need, what they don't need. Compared to maybe as an adult, I really don't know what you need or what you want. Right? I need to have that conversation with you. But if we can connect through the children, I mean, governments and countries could erase those borders, hopefully. And in the small things, not in the solving all the problems of the world, but in solving, your needs as recently coming here. How am I able to communicate? How am I able to be with my family and feel trust with this new person that is here living with us because they need to translate what we do, or going with us to the doctor. That is such an intimate place in a way as a person. So I think it all goes back to these small things that could make you feel
true
good.
Yeah, No, I am telling you, you did a good job, because when we arrived here to Sweden, like the first, until now, like sometimes it's me who are calling the doctors to, to book an appointment and so. So I work also as translator for the family, but I don't translate the sounds. Now, Vivian, it's really interesting to talk to you. And now we are in the last section of this episode. Yes. And I have some couple of questions.
Oh, okay.
So let's see if you're prepared, or let's see your answer. Because like I didn't send you any questions, which is fine.
That's why we took so long. I can shorten my questions. My answers.
Yeah. So the first question is, if you will get $1 million, what will you do with it as a professional? Not as a Vivian, like buying a house, and like and if, as a project. What will you do with this money?
It's a great question. I think I would support people doing stuff at a smaller scale that are really doing impact in their communities by providing these magic circles, as I was saying, right? Like, or bringing, like, it's just I don't want to simplify it to say, like, we'll do a workshop about child friendliness in every single space so that we can create awareness.
Yeah.
But in a way, it is needed still. There is a lot of need for advocacy, but that translates into the impact. So, and the impact is being done really by these very small scale groups, activists, professionals that don't have access normally to the big funding. And one of the reasons why they don't have access to the big funding is because they don't speak the same language, or they're expected to have this research language, or like business terms. Or so I think for me, I would spend it on that, on programs that would allow them to do the work that to facilitate the work that they do, the impact that they're already having, in ways that they can keep doing it constantly.
Yeah. Do you have like a niche? Is it like with children, with food, with or no?
Well, I wouldn't say that I will approach the people that is working with children. That I would approach the people that is working on the public space to make them think from the children perspective that we spoke about today. And I would do it definitely, well, I want to say worldwide, because I was telling you from the beginning, we believe a lot that the Latin American culture, for example, has so many things or so many processes of co-creation that we use, of using resources in a good way that the North could learn from. Yeah. So that knowledge exchange is something that I would really like to do from this perspective of connecting to your emotions and feeling good about the work that you do and learning from others at the same time. And then that translated in the impact that you're already creating,
Yeah.
At the scale that is a small scale. Yeah.
What should urban planners stop doing?
Yeah. Planning so much.
It's our profession, Vivian. We get paid for this. What do you mean? Should I quit my job?
No. I think planners should stop. We were discussing about this yesterday, but we said, like, are planners over designing? And I was saying, well, it really depends. What do you call over designing? So we were talking about the parks in Helsingborg. It's like, are they really overly designed? They have a lot of things. Are we really thinking about too much? Like, we have a park with 16 different sounds, and the jungle park, which I love, and these different animals and these different scales, and it takes so much to think about this. And I was like, no, you should keep doing that. Like the level of detail brings an experience that it's like amazing. But what I mean by stop planning or stop over designing is stop planning the result as in a way that you think you can control the conclusion or the consequences of your project. We think about mobility as we need this transition to sustainable mobility. We think about energy, we need this transition, and we think we can control everything towards that. So we need to stop thinking that we as planners, just because we have the chance to plan, it will go as we think it will go. I know a lot of people is aware of that the plan will not go that way. But how can we stop being so rigid about those plans? Or how can we stop being so, how to put this? That the most perfect my plan is, or the most detailed my plan is, or the most thought my plan is, the biggest chance of success it has.
Yeah.
It's not like that. The most flexible your plan is, if it has a clear purpose, every other action, even if it doesn't come from your control, can align to that purpose. So think about the purpose, not about the plan. And I think that is the new way of stop over planning, if you want to put it like that.
What skill or skills that urban planners should learn?
Well, the emotional reading, I had to say, yes. Yeah, really, how connections work, how human connections are, and not only human, our connections to nature. In the recent project that we were doing on urban pedagogy, we teach the children how to do a stakeholders map.
Really, you do that?
Yeah, we do that. We teach.
What do you tell them?
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is for you as children, you're important, but this is a neighborhood. Go and map how many neighbors are here. What do they do? Who they are? What are their needs? What do they think about the neighbor? Yeah. And we teach them of the complex methodologies of stakeholder mapping that they taught us in the masters. And we send them to do that. I mean, they're 13, 14, but they know, right? Yeah. And when they came back, it was amazing because the map didn't had only people. The map had the tree, the river, the birds, the pets. I mean, the dogs walking around the school were their most important actor. Because it was amazing.
That's crazy.
Because they realized that the only reason why they feel safe in the neighborhood is because there were so many people walking with their dogs.
That's so sweet.
So they were like, the most important thing we have to keep in the neighborhood are the dogs. Yeah. And then they also said, like, if we introduce something to the place, we've seen a lot of birds. The birds will stay. And if the birds could have a say on what we're doing, what would they say? And I was like... You were like, oh
this is like too much for me.
But then I went to Google research. Is this a question that someone has asked? And there is a lot of theory, or not a lot, but it's a new theory about non-human participation. So if the river could tell you, hey, no, don't put so much cement on me, I mean, how do you explore the dynamics of a non-human entity?
I mean, we cannot manage the human participatory. Are we going?
Imagine, no, but it's a very interesting topic. But it's about so really true. How do you envision or observe the dynamics of a non-human entity and translate it into a participatory process? And I forgot why I was saying all this, but I think it was because
it was like skills that we should learn. You tell the emotions, and then you mentioned that you do this exercise with the children.
Yes. So what I wanted to say is that we need to learn about emotions, but these emotions come from a connection, and sometimes it's human, but sometimes it's a natural connection. Like when we map the emotions with the children, they systematically said, we felt happier when we saw a dog. So it doesn't matter what other human stakeholder lives in the neighborhood. We need the dogs. And that was their biggest emotion. So when you work with children, you realize nature is one of the biggest
Important, yeah.
themes.
Yeah.
And that can change us collectively as well. So learning about emotions and learning about those emotions from the natural environment as well, that's something that everybody needs to start learning as a skill. Connecting with your emotions yourself, you know.
Yeah.
It's an important skill.
Very interesting. And the next question is like this. So if all cities call you, email you, and they tell you, Vivian, can you introduce a policy to us or introduce a physical object to us in our city? What will you introduce?
If all cities
they will send you an email. You wake up, you see your email like full of mayors and all like asking you, Vivian, we would love to have your mind here. So what will you add?
Well, I have to say that this methodology that we are working on of urban pedagogy and how to include the built and natural environment in the education system and working from those emotions. If I could introduce that to every curriculum in every city of the world, I would love to do that. Huh? But if it has to be also something way more simple, I mean, I would introduce a play space in a place where nobody was expecting it, you know?
Like where?
I mean, I don't know if you've seen this example, but in the Netherlands, when you go in the tram, they have a crocodile sticker on the window. And it just have a clear instruction, like look through the crocodile's mouth with one eye. So you close one eye and then you look in, and then try to eat as much people as you can. So the thing is that because the tram is moving, the crocodile is eating the people that is walking in the sidewalk. So you just go in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you count points. And when they recently introduced that, oh my God, you'll enter to the tram and everybody was laughing, everybody was like counting. And I mean, it was such a nice thing, I don't know what the evidence is nowadays to see like how happier were people when they reached their jobs or how much.
Should do it like a research or...
Yeah, there must be a research, So the Dutch, they think about everything, but... But I would love to.
This is so fun.
Yeah, I mean, if I could tell like one tip to every city is like introduce one playful thing that reaches.
It's also very simple.
It's very simple, right?
Yeah.
That can allow you to build all this evidence on emotions, on connections. Like, is it people really using it in the tram and laughing? Are they talking to each other? Are they competing with each other? Did they reach laughing to their job? Or they just,
Yeah.
I mean, with the crocodile. It's so simple, really.
Talking about animals and non-human. If you can choose to be something else, but not you, what will you choose to be? And why?
Something.
And anything, but not a human. Like you can be anything, like animal, object. I don't know, material. You decide. So think about what can you be. What is the thing that represents you, and why?
Oh, I'm gonna say water.
Water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is probably the first time I replied to the question with this element. But I love water because it's flexible. It runs through different places. It also takes things from different places, either cleaning them or providing them with something. And I don't want to be vital anywhere. So maybe that's not the part of the water I want to be like. But, for me to be water as a, if I can, as a transition or as a, how to put it, like if it passed through here and it brought us something good, because I don't think, maybe a flood, But if you think just about like a nice flow of water, it always brings something positive. And I would like to, come with some positivity and flexibility everywhere and then keep taking with me everything that I could learn to the next place and so on. So I think that's why.
It's so cool.
Water. Yeah, but I can be a float somewhere. So also,
When you get angry, huh?
Yeah. No, it's too much enthusiasm. I think it's sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah. By the way, how is the story or the background that you became part of the Placemaking Europe network?
I think it was in 2019. I finished my master's in the Netherlands. I did a master's then in urban management and development. Because after working in public spaces from this voluntary group, I thought like, okay, I really need to study something about this. So I went to the Netherlands and then I stayed, and I wanted to work somewhere. And I worked with Stipo, also in the City at Eye Level for Kids book.
Yeah.
And what we did is mainly translating that into a manual that people can use when you go and you can find it in the toolbox as well.
I use this when I give lectures in the university, by the way.
That's awesome, right? Yeah. That's what we did when we were. Well, I did when I was at Stipo, and then I stayed as part of the network, of the family, and it really feels like a big family. It has opened so many professional possibilities. It has opened so many room for impact everywhere of this changing knowledge and exchanging experiences. We were talking yesterday about mistakes as well, right? So and we learn from each other.
True.
Mistakes, but also from each other, everything that we do right. So it was amazing. I mean, it just came as a small opportunity of working for a few months there on this project, but it has become a crucial part of my life, I have to say. Like, I really use the placemaking hat everywhere, the Placemaking Europe hat everywhere, and I'm very happy to be part of this network. Really.
So, like, what do you do? Are you active, or what are your activities with the network?
So I focus a lot, of course, on the kids part, the Placemaking Europe Kids group, which is also very active. We meet every month. Sometimes we meet with a very specific purpose of doing a webinar or posting a research question or thinking about inviting someone or doing a manual, like, an outcome. But sometimes we just get together and we have coffee and we discuss, like, how did you do this month and how did you do that month? And we discuss everything from the methodologies of how to take children seriously, from the design to this month I didn't do anything, or or this month I didn't get paid. How are we going to look for funding? Or this month I made a lot of money and I did it this way. So also the professional side, that it's very, I like it because it's not this professional place where you need to show how amazing you are in your profession.
Like the success and numbers and all.
Yes, and I want everybody calling me because I know I don't know if that's the case in every profession, right? But here is about really getting together and looking how we put placemaking in the top priorities of municipalities and of cities, right? So I know that if all my colleagues are doing well, there's going to be more space for all of us to work on what we enjoy. So I think it's such a nice collaborative environment, and we focus on that mainly on children and play, but also gender. But in general, also, I think we push for the movement of placemaking.
How can people join this working group? Like, let's say I want to join you. How do I do that?
Yeah, just to send us an email. There's a Placemaking Europe webpage, and if you look for the working group kids, then you can send us an email, and we immediately invite you to the next meeting that we have to discuss and introduce each other.
When is the next meeting?
Next month. I don't know exactly which.
It's like
day.
a July.
July, July. Then, well, maybe September. We skip always sometimes the August, because everybody goes on summer holidays. But sometimes we still have.
Is it like
July? We have work.
Yeah. Is it rewarding to be part of this?
I think yes. I mean, as I said, you learn so much from your peers, and also you learn so much in a place where you can be vulnerable about what's not going well in your job. So from a non-competitive environment.
Yeah.
But I have to say also critically that it is still a movement that needs a lot of work from all of us, that it's still so much difficulties to convince the municipalities that this is a topic they should work on, to grasp, what is it that you talk about emotions and people when either I put the bench or I don't put the bench, that's the tangible thing for me. So in that critical way, sometimes it's frustrating, that you do all this work that it's not valued yet.
True.
And how do we make that happen, But I think in the short time that we have been together, I don't know, I'm going to say 2019 that I joined, but there's only a few years, right, that the network exists. We've achieved a lot. It would be awesome if we could achieve it faster,
I understand.
But I think it's paying back slowly.
Yeah. But you will get an email from me then.
Yeah, definitely. No, July. I'll see.
Don't block or don't put it on the spam or something.
Never. Okay.
Yes. So Vivian, now I have the last two questions. So the first one is about you, giving me and the listener 3 takeaway messages about how do we create better future cities.
So three messages.
Yeah.
Think about what makes you happy in your life and compare it to the spaces that you're using. And think if that thing that's making you happy could make other people happy, and you could create that space from the role that you have, right? So I would say that's the first key message. Connect to your own emotions. And next to that is have a purpose. We talked about models, methodologies, all these things that I said are so important. But the most important thing is that you have a clear purpose. If you do, and that's your ultimate goal, all the systems will align towards that. You will find the right energy, you will find the right people that align to that purpose and that are going to help you achieve that. So have a purpose not only for yourself, but of course, this is the purpose of Better City. So as I was saying, I have this child-friendly city vision as my purpose. Everybody has their own purpose. So try to think about that and put it to yourself everywhere so you can visualize it. And the third thing is definitely have fun. The responsibility of urban planners is super hard.
Yeah.
I mean, making cities that are good, that are healthy, that are equal, that provide opportunities for everybody is a very serious task. But we are not going to come with innovative ideas if we're not having fun. We're not going to want to keep working about that if we're not having fun. So use play in your own creative process, in your own thinking process, in the participatory methods, in the way you communicate with your colleagues. Use creative ways, and that will spark moments of serendipity that you didn't expect to happen, and then you can think about the serious part of the work that you have to translate it into the hardware, But having fun is crucial to create better cities, honestly.
Really really interesting. And the last question is actually going to be you asking it to me and to the listener. So what is your question to us?
Well, I am curious to know what I was saying that we should ask everybody. From your role, what do you think that was something that marked you as a child, whether positively or negative, that you would like every child to have the opportunity to replicate that great experience, or that you can do from your job so that no child has to go through that experience anymore?
Super interesting. Well, Vivian, thank you so much. Really, like I'm enjoying talking to you, and we just can go, talk forever.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy and to see you, and hopefully we're gonna meet again. We're gonna talk more, and I follow your work. You're a superhero. You're a big inspiration for me. So really, keep up the good work and keep loving cities.
No, keep telling stories the way you do it, and keep telling your story, because it's also so inspiring. I think you are a really amazing source of inspiration in so many ways. You've integrated our community in a way that nobody was expecting it. I feel, I don't know, like I remember seeing you as this new person I've never met, and then all of a sudden, you know, you were the binder of everything. You know, through you I can know everything that I want to know about the field, about cities. And I think that is super amazing that you've managed to use this amazing talent to bring us all together, to be able to talk about the things we like and to build on that for better cities.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. You learned something new and also got inspired by the guest. Don't forget to share the episode on your social media and recommend it to people you think they are really interested in this topic. Thank you so much again for giving your valuable time to Urbanistica podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif. Keep up the good work. Keep loving cities.